Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Hello, friends, and welcome. Welcome to a tradition unlike any other. You like that, JC?
That was beautiful.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Masters Week, and can't wait. It's the most beautiful place on earth, probably.
It's a beauty, man. Yeah.
I mean, It is unbelievable.
How many times have you been?
I've been twice. I went for one day, but then I went for 4 straight days. Back, I can't even remember who won it. It was in like 2002 or something. It was a playoff, but I was there for all 4 days of all the 4 rounds. I'm not, a lot of people like the practice rounds. I don't care about the practice rounds. But it's unbelievable. So the Masters crank up this week. You got the par 3 tournament. JC, before we jump into other sports, I don't know if I should do it now or later. Well, let's just do it now since it's on my mind. Can you? I don't know. I haven't kept up with it, but they moved the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Okay. Yeah. Can you explain to me why they're doing that? And
yes.
Okay, but if they're going to move the All-Star game, why are the Braves still playing games there then if it's that big of a deal?
Well, it's Major League Baseball's commissioner trying to make a political statement using baseball as his power bat, basically. He has decided to go along with some of these other corporate executives like the ones from Delta and Coca-Cola to try to speak out against this law in Georgia that, frankly, I don't think they could give you one specific detail about it as to why they are against it. So it has to do with voting rights in Georgia. Last time I checked, there are rights to vote in Georgia, but there are details in that specific bill that nobody's really giving you any specifics on. But that is why Rob Manfred has decided to take his game and take it out of Cobb County, which along with that goes millions and millions and millions of dollars and opportunities for people who need other, who could use that work during that entire week. It's not just a day or 2 days. It goes for 5 days, basically, with preparations and deconstruction after the game is over. And really, when you look at baseball's landscape, most of the teams are obviously in big cities, right? So many of those teams are in what is considered a liberal state, and right now the left is protesting voting legislation that is being passed by Republican state legislatures, and so Delta, Coca-Cola, and Major League Baseball are the 3 most prominent entities that have decided to take some sort of action to show that they disagree with this. But the last time I checked, corporations weren't meant to give, I guess, to give political statements. But at any rate, that's what it's about. It's about politics, and I think nothing more than that.
Well, okay, but it makes no sense to me how you take the All-Star game out of there, but you're still going to allow a Major League Baseball team to keep playing their games there. It makes no sense. And then I saw where Keith Olbermann I don't really follow him, but it popped up on Twitter about how he thinks they need to cancel the Masters. He's crazy as hell if he thinks that's going to happen.
He's using the word Masters as a more like an acronym for slavery, okay? Because it's in Georgia, and it's in Augusta, Georgia. And, when the Masters was founded, I guess back in the 20s or 30s when Bobby Jones and guys like Gene Sarazen were prominent, and Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a member there, were prominent members of that golf course. Many are correlating that with racism. Whether you believe that or not, Keith Olbermann has decided to use his voice on Twitter, and yet he has no fallback for something as completely inane and ridiculous as that, as others who get suspended on Twitter. So you can see there's double standards and hypocrisy everywhere here. But what Keith Olbermann's suggesting is that this whole title Masters has more to do with the masters, of civil rights and that kind of thing.
Okay, well, let's move on to the Masters starts this week. Jordan Spieth wins last week. I think I had the highest finisher. You had Gary Woodland, who finished 9 under. My guy, highest guy was Matt Kuchar at 7, and Ryan Palmer at 5. You also had Ricky Fowler at 5. Scheffler and Finau were not factors. So your guy was 2 strokes better than my guy. And now we go into a Masters week where, yesterday I was watching that golf tournament, and Charlie Hoffman was really battling Jordan Spieth, who eventually won the Valero Texas Open. And they were on the back nine playing to try to win the tournament, obviously. And Charlie Hoffman was 1 stroke back going into number 17, and he needed to win that tournament to get entry into the Masters this week, okay? Because it's an invitational, and basically the Masters committee has qualifications and qualifiers for you to be able to play. Well, Charlie Hoffman, I'm going to say, hasn't won enough money or hasn't won enough tournaments or finished in the top 5 or 10 to qualify. So he needed that win yesterday, but he couldn't birdie 17 or 18. And then Jordan Spieth held on, birdied 17, and won the tournament by 2 strokes by parring the last hole, which was a par 5, number 18. Jordan Spieth is a 3-time majors champion. He's won, I think, 11 tournaments on tour, and he's 23 or 24 years old. So he has 1 Masters championship, 1 U.S. Open championship, and 1 British Open championship. And he could have had easily 2 Masters championships, but because of his disaster on number 12, I think it was 3 years ago, where he made a 5 or a 6 by hitting 2 balls in the water with the lead on Sunday on number 12, he wasn't able to win that tournament. And otherwise, he would have had easily 2 Masters jackets, but he does have 1. Yeah. We'll talk more about the Masters throughout the week. But real quickly, we'll talk more with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com in the second portion of today's show. UF baseball takes 2 of 3 from Ole Miss, the number 3 team in the country.
Yeah.
Softball has split the series. I think the 3rd game is tonight in Georgia. Men's tennis wins the SEC championship. Gymnastics is moving on to national. It seems like the gymnastics season has lasted for like 8 months.
Yeah, well, the COVID. Really? And look, I think Florida is right where they need to be. As long as you're in that first rotation, the Super 6 is what they call it, you have a chance to win. I think there's more than 6 teams, obviously, that go, but if you qualify in the top 6 for NCAAs, now I think Alabama and Florida. There's maybe one other SEC team, but that's where you need to be. I think that's
and then so volleyball I think is the number 8 overall seed, and their tournament start I think next week. But with the men's tennis winning yesterday, JC.
Oh yeah,
Florida now has 250 SEC championships.
Yeah,
I mean this is pretty amazing, whether people care or not. Mm-hmm. Do you know who the second place team in the SEC is in overall SEC championships is?
Let me guess. Say Georgia.
No, Georgia's 3rd. Tennessee is 2nd with 156. Florida has 250. Right. Alabama has 95. Missouri's at the bottom. They haven't been in the SEC long. They only have 2, but that's a pretty cool deal there. That we're pretty good and everything.
Well, let me correct myself on that gymnastics. They go to NCAAs, and then in the first round of NCAA finals, then they try to qualify for the Super 6, and then on the second day, I believe, is when they try to win the championship. But spring sports here has always been a priority for the University of Florida. Under Jeremy Foley, he made it a real objective, a primary objective, to get really strong coaches in here, get them winning sports. From baseball to softball is the one that sticks out the most to me because of what Tim Walton has done with just the percentage of wins that he has in a sport that Florida picked up, I think, in the early 90s. They weren't playing it while everybody in the Pac-12 was playing it until, I believe, the Larry Ray era, which was in the early 90s. And then Tim Walton comes in and turns it into a dynasty in that sport. And then you have, in the past, golf has been very strong at Florida. The men's teams under Buddy Alexander were really, really, really good. And so, volleyball has always been a really strong spring. It was a fall sport, but it was one of those secondary sports. but Mary still hasn't won her national title yet. Maybe she will. And then you have, tennis has been also one of the women's and men's strong sports, but especially on the women's side, under Andy Brandy and Roland Thornquist and so many other great coaches that have gone through that channel at UF. The women's tennis team, to me, probably is the biggest, most successful women's or spring sport team.
Track.
Either men or, track, but it's so hard. Because
track has the most.
Well, track has also a lot of individual titles too. But in terms of just team titles that everybody.
I think track has the most still.
On team titles?
I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody will let us know here.
Okay, but women's tennis is strong. I just know that for a fact. And good for Brian Shelton's group. I see him out here at Hawkstone Country Club quite a bit playing golf. And he really has a powerful program on the men's side, and that's good to see because it's been a little bit tougher for the men's side of tennis to keep up with the success of the women's side, which has just been unbelievable. So good for them. And spring sports is a big deal here in Florida. It should be. Look at the weather we have here all the time.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. April is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC here on the Titan More Hotline, we'll be joined by FloridaGators.com Scott Carter, break down all the Gator stuff going on in the second portion. We got a text here on the Titan More text line from Daryl. He says, "Good morning, guys. The new ballpark is beautiful, but only lasts 5 innings with the grandson. Baseball is a long game." There's no doubt, but it is a beautiful ballpark.
A great deal for them beating Mississippi, coming off that sweep and winning that series. That is a tremendous effort to come back and rebound from that sweep in South Carolina. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, I also want to let everybody know tomorrow we'll have Jason Higdon from firstand10florida.com for all your in-depth Gator recruiting news. Go to firstand10florida.com. Use promo code 2for2 right now and get 2 months for just $2. Firstand10florida.com, your premier Florida Gators recruiting news and source. Okay, JC. So this weekend, man, I think we all knew Baylor might handle Houston. But UCLA played, I'm serious, they played a perfect game against Gonzaga. And that's a game you'll remember the rest of your life.
That might have been, some folks are saying it's the best game they've ever seen. I would put that right up there every bit with the 1992 Kentucky Duke game.
Or also the year Villanova, Chris Jenkins hit first of all, Marcus Page came down and double pumped a three somehow in the air and knocked it down with like 5 seconds to tie the game. They inbound it, and Chris Jenkins hits one from almost half court where Villanova won their first title.
That's right, Villanova. And, in terms of drama, the NC State-Houston game for sure, but that game wasn't played as cleanly as this UCLA-Gonzaga game. If you like good offense going and just shredding really good defense, that game was for you the other night. And, you have to really congratulate what UCLA and Mick Cronin were able to do as the Cinderella story with 9 losses going into that tournament, having to win a play-in game to beat Michigan State to get into to what I consider the first round, basically, and to win 4 games. I mean, and look, Alabama had them if they could have made free throws, but it didn't happen, did it? And then what UCLA did to Michigan, after what Michigan did to FSU, and then when UCLA almost did to Gonzaga. Look, I think it sets us up for the 2 best teams in the country. Clearly, throughout the year, these have been the 2 best teams in the country. I'm glad to see Baylor and Gonzaga because, to me, that is the game that will truly give us a champion without any Cinderella story. I don't mind Cinderella stories. I have no issues with that. I'm glad. I love Cinderella. But in this case, I'm glad to see the 2 best teams play finally.
What's interesting, this tells you how hard it is to beat Gonzaga. UCLA shot 58% from the floor, 47% from the three-point line, higher percentage at the free throw line, out-rebounded Gonzaga by 6 and committed only 10 turnovers and still lost the game. They played a perfect game because I've seen UCLA a lot. The shots they made, their center was knocking down 12-foot jumpers It was crazy. But
and Juzang really made a name for himself in this tournament because during the year, he wasn't one of those guys that a lot of folks were talking about. But Johnny Juzang had a great tournament and a great.
And he couldn't play at Kentucky, and he transferred.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So JC, real quick, did you see the uniforms that the Notre Dame baseball team wore?
I missed that. What do they look like?
Okay, we're going to put it up on the screen here. Can you see what's put up on the screen?
I see you and I see Evan. Okay.
Evan, are you putting it up there? I don't know if it's up on the screen yet or not. But anyway, I'm going to describe. Okay. So they had their batting helmets of the shiny gold, solid gold, just like their football helmet.
Oh, okay.
They wore Kelly green baseball pants with a baseball jersey that is navy blue up top and gold on the bottom with green pants. I just want to know who thought that was a good idea and a good look. It's up on the screen for our people to look right now. It's horrible. I'll text it to you.
Oh, wait, I see it. I see it now.
Can you imagine playing in a baseball? Who thought that looked good?
That's a soccer uniform in Eastern Europe right there is all that is.
I don't even know if it's that. I mean, it's horrible.
That's brutal. I'm sure that gave you shock and awe there, QB, because I know how you are such a uniform type of guy, but boy, that's ugly.
That's the worst uniform I've ever seen. So JC, back to the Gonzaga game.
Yeah.
And I've said it all along. A lot of people think Cade Cunningham should be the first pick of the NBA draft.
Suggs now. It might be
Suggs. The plays that he made, the block, and then the bounce pass on the transition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, he is, and Timmy is as well. Drawing that charge call right there before the end of the game when UCLA. How much time was left when UCLA had the ball right in regulation before that charge was called?
Oh, there was. I mean, they had 11 seconds and dribbling it out.
So Timmy did a great job of drawing that call, and the officials have to make a call one way or the other because there was contact. So. Timmy is great. Suggs is great. The team is great. They are very, very impressive. But I do believe Baylor will stay with them tonight. And I do think we'll see a really good championship game because what Baylor was able to do athletically to Houston was embarrassing. I mean, they just laughed at it. And, here's the thing about Baylor. Every team, and Gonzaga now, because of what happened with that UCLA game, but every team who seems to win one of these championships, the NCAA tournament has to go through one of those games where it just didn't go well for them, but they still found a way to win. And Villanova had Baylor down something like 8 or 9 points in the second half of the first game they played, and Baylor came back and basically covered the spread and figured it out. But they had to go through the meat grinder just to, and that seems to happen to every team that ends up winning. You always have one of those games where you could have gone the other way. Suggs, you knew he was making that shot, didn't you? I mean, when he dribbled that ball out with 3.3 seconds, he's literally between half court and the top of the key, and he banked it.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him play.
Bank robbery.
I've watched him play all year long and just love his game. He was a highly touted high school quarterback coming out of Minnesota as well, but chose to go basketball. And he's the highest recruit Mark Few's ever gotten at Gonzaga. He could have gone anywhere, but decided to go there. And they're
going to get a lot more.
Well, they get good players. He gets a lot of Europeans like I love saying that guy's a good player too. He's from France. So they what's interesting about that game, and it just goes to show you when a team gets hot in the tournament and it plays as well as UCLA played together. Gonzaga was up 7 at one point.
Yeah.
And then they got the intentional flagrant foul or flagrant one on Nembhard, and he only makes one free throw to put them up 7. The very next possession, Nembhard comes down on a fast break, dribbles it off his foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They go back. They make a stop. Then IE gets another fast break, drives down the lane, misses a little floater from about 5 feet. Still a 7-point game. They get a stop, and then they come down and have Kispert, who's one of the best 3-point shooters in America, misses a wide open 3, and then it goes from 7. And then UCLA takes the lead, and give them credit. They played. I don't know if I've ever seen a team play as well
and not win.
Like everything go right for them, like UCLA did,
and still not win. So I guess that could give you the sense that maybe Gonzaga is the team of destiny this year. But the Baylor game tonight will be fun to watch, and it's
Baylor's got a chance. I mean, they got the athletes that can match with them.
Yeah.
They can score with them. So it should be a fun. What time's that game start? At 9 o'clock?
Yeah, it's a 9 o'clock game, and the good thing though is not 9:57, so you might be able to get through it. The first time I was in Augusta was 2004, and in the 05 March Madness, North Carolina won it. Tyler Hansborough was on that team. And that's what I remember, was going to the practice round on Monday at Augusta, where I got this beautiful hat and this 2004 Masters hat, and then going straight to a restaurant there on Washington and watching basketball, the national championship between North Carolina and I think it was Illinois. And boy, I tell you, this week is just a great week. This whole March, April thing, I love March and April. I do. I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of basketball, Florida got 2 of their transfers, one from Boston College and one from University of Missouri, Kansas City. Both are really good players. They're extremely athletic. They can score. I like these 2 guys. Florida's in the mix for a couple of other guys that I've read about. I'm telling you right now, JC, and we got a long time to wait, but the team will be more athletic and be better next year.
That's nice to hear. This kid, where did you say? You said the Kansas City, and where was the other one again? I'm sorry.
Boston College.
Oh, BC. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's more.
There's a kid out of Furman that everybody wants. That Florida's on his list with all the other big boys. So hopefully we'll get them. Arkansas has already added 2 guys to their team from the transfer portal. Pretty much their whole team is made up of transfers. And, I know I've been beating a dead horse, but if you look at Baylor's roster tonight, it's made up, I think 3 or 4 of their starters all played elsewhere at one point in time in their career. So it's going to be interesting to see. They haven't announced, I read or saw or heard or the candidates for the North Carolina job. They haven't named anybody for that job yet, have they?
No, they haven't.
Okay, so they had 10 candidates, and Mike White was like number 9. He was like 14-1 to be the next North Carolina coach. The favorite was Hubert Davis, who played there, has been an assistant. But I'm curious, Scott Drew was on that list. So I'm curious, because they haven't named Hubert Davis. You would have thought they would have already done that by now.
You think they're waiting for this to end, this game tonight?
I don't know.
And I've heard Nate Oates' name too mentioned, but Hubert Davis would have been. I mean, if he was their choice, I would have thought they would have made that announcement already. But that's a destination coaching job location, basically. Indiana went with a former player, a guy who coached in the NBA, who was okay. He's not Mike Woodson. So they went old player route. We'll see if Carolina does the same. But they could be waiting for Scott Drew tonight. They could.
Yeah, so we'll see. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. From now until May 31st, get our preventative maintenance plan for $169 and save almost 40% off the normal cost. Also, any maintenance schedule between now and May 31st will be entered to win a Nest thermostat with installation. So guess what happened on this day in sports, JC?
April the 5th. Okay. Fill me in.
Well, 1993 in the NCAA National Championship game. Remember who played in that one?
Not 93. Sorry.
All right. It would have been the Fab Five against the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Okay.
Remember,
New Orleans. Yes.
Carolina beats Michigan 77-71.
Yeah.
And that was the game where Chris Webber called the timeout.
Chris Webber called timeout, but in the Louisiana Superdome, and Michael Jordan and those guys win their championship. Yeah. North Carolina. They seem to have won a lot, don't they? Yeah.
Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, I want to say if Florida gets the 3rd transfer, they have a better statistical average than all the Gators that left, except man. Yeah, he's basically saying from a stat standpoint, that's why I'm trying to tell people they're going to be better next year because Trey Mann was the only legitimate starter. I felt like everybody else that played are guys that should be coming off your bench and only have X amount of minutes. So we'll see. Yeah, a lot of basketball. A lot going to happen.
What that kid from East Carolina end up doing? Is he still trying? He's
still out there too.
Yeah,
everybody wants him as well. So, and there's going to be some dudes from like Harvard or Yale, because a big contributor for Alabama was from Yale.
Yeah, Jordan Bruner. Yep.
Yeah, and then the Michigan point guard, little number 12, was from Columbia. So there's so many good basketball players from around the country.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So JC, so tonight, I assume Gonzaga's favored, right?
It's 4.5.
Oh,
if you get Gonzaga, anything under 6, 7, 8, you got to love that, right? Because up until that UCLA game, they had beaten everybody by double digits. However, they hadn't played a team as good as Baylor up until that game, if you want to consider the way UCLA was playing. So, I think it will be close, but I couldn't tell you which side I would pick if I had to bet it. I don't have any idea. I guess I would go with the points because I have a great team getting points. But taking somebody against Gonzaga, unless you're getting 14 or 15, but still.
Here's the thing. Here's why that game was close the other night. Is because UCLA played out their tails. They did. And Gonzaga did not shoot the ball like they normally do from the outside. We got a text on the Titan Mar text line. It comes from Joseph. Joseph wants to know, and he wants to know who we were picking to win the Masters. We will talk about that.
Oh yeah, we're going to do that.
We have to do that on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, and I'll have another hat on. Do you want a Masters hat there, QB? You want a visor or something to wear?
I have plenty of that. I have all that.
Wear for the show. Well, okay, you're sitting on 13 right now. I was just curious why you're not wearing a hat. Well, everybody that goes to the Masters wears a hat. Everybody.
Not true. I wore a visor when I went.
Well, okay, visor or hat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of the Masters, we're going to have Steve Melnick on Friday.
Okay,
former Gator who worked for CBS calling a bunch of Masters.
Yeah.
Who has a great golf voice.
Oh, yes. Well, he's one of those old Gators, and Chris DeMarco? That's the one. Wasn't he the only Gator that finished just close enough to win it?
He came to second with
Tiger Woods. He was in the final round and almost chipped in on 18. I went that year, by the way. That was 08, I think. So, or was it? No, it was 05. So, wow, exciting. Well, let's just, let's talk about it Wednesday, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We have to. And then, so we'll get our picks on Wednesday. And then, so tonight, before I let you go, JC, you're taking the Baylor Bears?
I guess if I'm being shoved into a corner here, I'll take the 4.5 points, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Gonzaga win by 10. It also wouldn't surprise me to see Baylor cover. How about that?
You just covered all bases there.
Well, I was just saying I wouldn't be surprised, but if I was shoved in a corner and said, you have to pick, I'll take the 4.5. You're going to take Gonzaga, I guess. So.
Well, I like the Zags. I really like the Baylor guards. Jared Butler, All-American, who was at one time wearing the Crimson Tide uniform and decided to leave and go to Baylor. Don't you wish he was still playing for y'all?
I sure do, but it worked out well for him as well. Baylor they play in a small little arena in Waco, Texas, right by the softball and baseball complex and the football stadium. Everything's all together. And they've done a great job building that program in the middle of literally nowhere in Texas. So good.
Yep. All right, JC, be safe. Hit them straight.
Right, we'll see you Wednesday.
And we'll talk to you soon. That's JC. Join us on the Titan tomorrow hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We're going to take our first time out of the program. We come back, we'll be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com talking about all the sports going on campus. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Route Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Le Macaron, Sushi Hana, Bass Pro Shop, and coming June of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by FloridaGators.com senior writer Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Shane, what's going on, man? You're ready for the week. I see you with that background.
You're damn right. I opened the show, hello, friends, like Jim Nance. Yeah. So, well, Scott, first of all, we got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Mellon Law. Rick says the undergraduate enrollments at Gonzaga are about 4,800 students. It's almost like Buchholz High School. And Baylor at about 14,000. So two small schools going at it tonight. Let's get your thoughts on that, man. What a basketball game the other night, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna admit something here that I hate to, Shane, but I fell asleep on that one. So I wake up on Sunday morning, obviously really early, had no idea what happened, and I was in for a shocker to see how that thing turned out. I mean, what an amazing finish, like you said. Hey, you knew the game, the way it was flowing in the first half. I mean, it was the Gonzaga's kind of game, but I credit UCLA for being able to match them shot for shot. But in the end, Gonzaga's got that magic, and now we'll see if they have it one more game, because I think it'd be cool to see them go undefeated and finish it off. But at the same time, I think Baylor is going to be a very tough matchup for them.
Yeah, it should be a heck of a game. Scott, let's talk. We got a lot to talk about Gator sports. Obviously, the University of Florida wins their 250th SEC championship, clearly heads and shoulders above everybody else in the league. I guess, when you look back, that's basically how Jeremy Foley wanted to build that athletic program.
Yeah, really, Jeremy's fingerprints are all over what they've done just from top to bottom as a program. He's always emphasized when he was athletic director that he wanted the men's tennis program to compete for SEC titles like the football program, and they've done that over the years. And, Scott Strickland has kept that in place. And it's one of those things where you got to really hire good coaches for that to happen, Shane. And it doesn't matter if you're coaching, men's tennis and 100 people are there. Or 90,000 in the swamp. I mean, you got to have somebody directing those programs who know what important culture is, who knows what athletes and how to mix a team together to succeed. And they've been able to do that consistently. Not every year is great, but for the most part, I think the stat that shows it all is 43 straight years the Gators have won at least one SEC title in some sport. And we all know most of those years it's more than one. So, it's just a tribute to really the coaches and the kind of recruits they bring in here.
Yep. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. John says, Scott, do you know why Skylar Wallace from softball, she's the transfer from Alabama, hasn't been cleared to play yet? I don't think that she's going to be – correct me if I'm wrong. You may know. I believe the league said she's not going to be eligible to play this year, which in my opinion is BS, because in the past, in softball, before all the transfer rules were in place, you could transfer anywhere in softball and play the very next year. I personally feel like this is something the league office in Birmingham, since she's an old Alabama girl, is saying she can't go play at Florida immediately.
Yeah.
Am I completely wrong there?
There may be some truth to that, Shane. I don't know if anybody's going to admit that up in Birmingham, but I don't know all the inside stuff there. I'm like you. I was, you never know with the way the transfers are today. I mean, you wonder, okay, what is their reasoning, or is there something there that we don't know about, or is it just some biases that exist? And so I don't know. I know a lot of people thought she was going to play. I even kind of assumed she was going to play, but it hasn't happened. And by this point in the season, I don't expect it to happen unless some more foresee the development or something going on that we don't know about. But the Gator fans would love to have her. To get Tim Walton, I'm sure would love to have her too. But the team's doing pretty well. They beat up Georgia yesterday.
Yeah, run ruled them. So I think that series is 1-1. I think they play the third game tonight.
Yep.
It's crazy. The SEC softball is so equivalent to SEC baseball. Teams having dominant years is going to be hard. Your goal is just to try to take 2 or 3 out of every one of these series. Let's talk Gator baseball. Coming off the sweep, getting swept, I should say, against South Carolina. They come home and take 2 or 3 from the third-ranked Ole Miss Rebels. You're a baseball guy, Scott. Just your thoughts on the weekend series.
Well, it was important, no doubt. They did not expect to go up and get swept at South Carolina. They played really poorly up there, struck out 45 times in the 3 games. And, they get back home, they take game 1 against Ole Miss, and then, of course, in game 2, they strike out 18 times, Shane, against 4 different Ole Miss pitchers. And Sully was not too pleased after Friday night's loss. But I thought they really had a nice approach at the plate, showed a lot more patience on Saturday, and they got the series win behind, Jordan Carrion was kind of the star of the game, a freshman that started at shortstop, hit a home run, his first one as a Gator, then took over on the mound in a critical situation and got some big outs, and then went back to second base as Ryan Kabarkas came in and finished it off. So a good, taking 2 or 3 against the country's third-ranked team. And we're going to see series like this all year, Shane, where Florida is going to be the higher-ranked team. I mean, these SEC teams are going to be in the top 10 all year. So anytime you can, win 2 of those 3 at home or on the road, it's a good weekend. I think that was just a good rebound for the Gators because it's not going to get any easier. And the big thing was they changed their pitching rotation around. Leftwich and Mace, the top 2 starters, Sully just decided to put them out of the bullpen, and Mace did great in the first game. Leftwich mixed results in his performance on Saturday, but he basically said at the end of the series, look, what I learned is that we got so many good arms on this team. I got to make sure the best arms are the ones pitching for us. You just can't get everybody out there sometimes.
Yeah, speaking of the rotation, as you mentioned, he kind of went the route of what the Tampa Bay Rays have done the last couple of years. Yep. And they're really the only team that I can think of that have done that. Did Sully ever say in any of his pressers why he decided to bring those guys out of the bullpen?
He was kind of cut it down, shut it down, Shane, when we got the questions there. He basically said coming back from South Carolina, it's something he thought about, he slept on, and, it was that simple. He didn't go into details whether or not he used analytics or, how he really came to that decision. And you're right, it's a trend in the majors. We haven't seen it at Florida before in this way, and he really, after the weekend series against Ole Miss, he didn't specify if that was something he would plan to continue. He was asked directly about that, and he says at this time, after the game, he really hadn't made up his mind how he'll approach the Tennessee series. So I don't know if it was just something to jolt the team against Ole Miss after that sweep, or if it's something he'll continue to practice.
Scott, when you look at this baseball team, I've heard Cardozo talk about it a little bit. They talk about the chemistry. And he just doesn't think the chemistry is the same as it was last year. I remember him referring to the series at South Carolina. Felt like South Carolina's team was more into it in the dugouts. Not really the rah-rah, quote, softball cheers and that type of thing. But did you see a different personality from this baseball team this past weekend against Ole Miss?
I did. I think it was never more symbolized on Saturday's game, the final game of the series. They were into it. They knew, you could tell that the energy level was higher. They knew what that series meant. I remember watching Jacob Young get the final out of the series and clinch the win. And I mean, he was pumped after he caught the fly ball, ran over to Jub Fabian. They did one of those leaps into the air. I mean, it was a different team. I think in terms of energy, I think that's the team they need to be. I think Jeff made some good points there because it was almost like too cool for school a little bit early in the season. And you want some fire and energy in that dugout. And Sully's the kind of coach that he demands that. I mean, you either are going to give it or you're not going to be playing. So I think, he's learning this team. I think they're learning him. I still like this team's prospects throughout the season, but I do think that there's been some early season trying to figure out exactly what they have and where the pieces fit. And I think that was going back to what Sully said about the pitching, after this weekend. He's learned, okay, we've got a lot of good arms. I got to make sure all those arms are out there instead of trying to fit this guy in because he hasn't pitched in 4 days. That's part of the gig.
I haven't looked at our schedule this week in baseball. Who do we have?
Tennessee's the big series this weekend.
Okay.
And Stetson's at home on Tuesday.
Tennessee rolling into here?
No, Tennessee up in Knoxville. So they'll go up there. Tennessee's really good this year. So it's almost going to be an identical thing as going up to South Carolina. How will they handle another road trip against a really good SEC team?
Yep. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking of Scott Carter on FloridaGators.com here from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. All right, Scott, let's kind of move around to some we talked about softball. They're having a tremendous year as well. Men's tennis wins the 250th SEC championship. Volleyball is getting ready to start postseason, as is gymnastics is in postseason. I'm not sure if you cover all those sports, but to me, it seems like gymnastics and volleyball have been going on for like 8 months. I mean, it is crazy.
Yeah, everything's whacked out this year. I do try to bounce around at the hot moments and when the fans are most interested. And obviously, the gymnastics team is at that stage now. They were up in Athens over the weekend at the regional, and they advanced. They had to really fight through it because of some missteps and injuries. But they're in the NCAA finals, so they'll get ready for that. Hopefully, get healthy. And again, I mean, they have the team that's favored to win if everybody's healthy and on point. Volleyball, you're right. It's usually not this time of year, Shane, but because of COVID, it got shifted back. So they're still playing. Postseason's coming up, and what I'm going to stick to your theme here. We'll talk a little bit golf, which because the Gators had a couple of girls up at Augusta National for the Augusta Women's Amateur this past weekend. One finished 22nd, but of all the things I've done here and covered, I covered pretty much all of it, Shane. But 2 years ago at the first Augusta Women's Amateur, they had a couple of Marta Perez and Sierra Brooks. I went up there and followed them around all day, the final round. And that was my first time up there. That was an amazing experience. I've never seen a piece of land as manicured and as perfect as that. And TV doesn't even really do it justice.
No.
I mean,
it's crazy how that is, like I told JC, it's one of the prettiest pieces of land you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah.
And the elevation change is what you cannot see on TV.
That threw me off because I walked the whole course. And I remember at the end of the day, I had my Fitbit or whatever. It was like 22,000 steps, and I was tired, man. But those hills, they'll wear you out. But just like you said, a great place to go if you ever get a chance.
Dan says on Facebook Live here, brought to you by Metal Law, Trinity Thomas should be back by April 16th.
That's the goal. She's been kind of hobbled and with some ankle injuries. They shoot for the Nationals, and she's been competing on bars. But I think for them to win the title, she'll need to be out there on all 4 events. And if she is and scores her regular points, Gators I think will be the team to beat. It's just a matter of can she do everything that we're accustomed to seeing.
We got a text here on the Titan Mar text line from Joseph. Joseph wants to know, do you think Carry-On will be in the lineup from here on out?
I think he'll get somewhere in there. I mean, obviously you got Josh Rivera at shortstop who's struggled hitting and fielding some this year. So Sully's never been shy to stay with the high guy. And I mean, Carry-On, I just love you talked about that energy earlier. That team may have been lacking. If there's one guy who I saw it from over the weekend more than anybody, it was Carry-On. I mean, I don't know if you saw after that home run he hit and early, that was his first one when he came down the third base line and came to home plate. I hadn't seen a Gator that excited and pumped up in a while on the baseball diamond. Even his teammates were kind of feeding off of that. And he's just one of those guys who has that energy, a really good player, great speed, good glove, showing some bats. So I don't know if he'll stay in every game. I think he's in for a stretch where we're going to see a lot of Jordan Carry-On.
A few more minutes here with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Okay, I know basketball. We have our man Chris Harry cover them, but Gators got two transfers, one from Boston College, one from University of Missouri, Kansas City. Pretty good players, and we should be adding more guys in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, they're out there. They'll be adding some more guys, and I mean, I know it's been like a roller coaster ride for the fans lately because of some of the moves. But you knew they were going to, after they lost those four guys and, a couple others going into the NBA draft, you knew that they were going to add some guys, and you just didn't know when and who. And the first couple of guys, Brandon McKissick and C.J. Felder from Boston College, and like you said, McKissick from University of Kansas City, Missouri, they're intriguing pieces. They bring some – right away, Felder's probably a really nice inside presence and some ability there that they lacked last year after Keontae went down. McKissick's more of a scorer who'll add some points. So to me, it's kind of fascinating, Shane, with what's going on with college basketball because one player can make such a difference in college basketball. And now you have this transfer portal where every year guys are looking around, and never more so than this year. And while on paper, and I'm sure in Mike White's world and all these coaches around the country, you want to build that cohesiveness and have a team you can build around. That to me was always Billy Donovan's great strength. He got players that necessarily weren't. You looked at them at the start of the year and you're like, oh boy, this team's got a long way to go. But by the end of the year, they were always better. And now it's harder and harder to build that chemistry. So you take shots at the transfer portal, and one guy can make such a difference. You just don't know what it's going to look like year in and year out. So while it can be, I guess, stressful for fans, for coaches, it's also intriguing as a fan because I'm kind of curious to see what kind of collection of talent they put together and how good they be. I mean, I think they have every chance to be as good as better as last year if they continue to add a couple more pieces.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be better, no doubt. Before we let you go, Scott, you were at Pro Day. Some Gators did real well. I was so happy for Marco Wilson. I've always thought, regardless of what other people thought, I thought he's a guy that's going to play in the NFL a long time.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of company now, Shane, because what he did out there last week. I mean, that vertical jump, that blew me away just seeing what he did there. Obviously put up great times in the 40, and he went – I mean, there's nobody on the team who helped himself more in Pro Day than Marco did. I mean, I think he's in the draft somewhere now. And I'm like you. I always thought he was – I think his upside is better than his older brother's, Quincy's. I just think he's a little bit undersized maybe, but I think he has just overall better skills. We'll see, but he's going to get a shot. And then the guys who you expected to do well, Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney, Kyle Trask, I think all three of those guys went out and did what they needed to do. And Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney with those times in the 40, they did even more than we expected. So neither guy hurt themselves at all. I think they're both going in the first round. Well, obviously Pitts is, but I think Toney secured a place in the first round as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. Not only the times that the Gators had, but all around the country at their pro days, guys were running crazy times. And, I know it's still the NFL scouts doing handheld, but those times are a little different whenever you have those electronic timers at the combine. So it is what it is.
It is different. So the times are going to look better this year. But I figure if you're running a 4.35 on these handhelds, you're probably still in 4.2 range on the electronic timer, which I haven't ran that in a while, Shane. I don't know about you.
All right, Scott, before we let you go, got any good stuff at FloridaGators.com for folks to read?
One thing, just you talked about it earlier, the 250 SEC championships. I wrote a little historical thing about that yesterday. Obviously, we'll have some baseball. I think I'm going to write about Jordan Carrion this week, another guy you brought up, and Chris has some basketball stuff covered. So we'll have stuff going on, man. There's so much going on. It's a busy time of year, Shane.
Yep. Well, Scott, we appreciate you joining the program. We'll be in touch. Be safe out there. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right. Take care, buddy.
That's Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Hey, folks, let me tell you about one of our new sponsors, G-Tech Clean.
G-Tech Clean is your complete germ protection. It's EPA approved to kill COVID-19 and kills 99.9% of all germs and viruses, black mold, and also deodorizes. It's the safest, affordable way to clean and sanitize your business, no matter if it's a gym, school, retail store, or office. Use it in your home anywhere from the bathroom to the kids' room. It's formulated to provide 24/7 protection and is over 30 times more durable than any other cleaners. Try G-Tech at home as well.
I use G-Tech Clean to keep my pot-up studio free of any germs and viruses and COVID-related issues as well, and so should you. We're going to take our final time out of today's program. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Monday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios at Center State Bank. We put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. Center State Bank, member FDIC. I want to thank our man JC for joining us, and also Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com, talking about a great weekend for the Florida Gators in multiple sports. Don't forget to firstand10florida.com for all your in-depth Gator recruiting news. Go to firstand10florida.com. Use promo code 2 for 2 right now and get 2 months for just $2. Firstand10florida.com, your premier Florida Gators recruiting news source. And Jason Higdon, the owner of that, will be joining us tomorrow talking Florida Gator recruiting along with our man Buddy Martin. And don't forget, on Wednesday we're going to have Grant Holloway join the program. Follow and like us on Facebook and YouTube. You can listen to us on 30 digital platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many, many more. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We will see you tomorrow.
Trying to get the fans fired up. 2nd down and 10. Matthews rolling to his right, in trouble, can't find anyone. Now he throws it for Harrison Houston, who makes the catch. He's in the open field. Harrison to the 20. They're not going to catch him. Touchdown, Gators!